back in 1978, when I was 11 years old, my grandfather bought me for my 11th birthday a really quite nice, in my opinion, a quite nice transistor radio. He had previously given me a very small Chinese pocket radio, a Hong Kong pocket radio that was pretty rubbish, but it was my first radio still, so I was quite excited by it. But this was my first proper radio, decent radio of any decent quality. And I can remember the excitement of taking it all apart and sort of taking it out of the box, should I say, and having my first radio to actually listen to with decent sound quality. And I was always amazed at how good the sound quality was compared with all the sort of like the junk I'd had before, the little Chinese and Taiwanese and Hong Kong made radios that were little pocket sized things that were awful sound quality, really tinny and nasty. Now in the last couple of years I've been searching eBay trying to find out which model it was, and finally actually just by trawling through all the Philips radios, and you don't come very often this particular model, found exactly the radio that it was, and I made a note of obviously the model number and saved it in a search. And it's the 90al280. Now, the model the first version I found on eBay was in an awful state, but that was good enough to give me a sort of like a reference to the model number, and then I could put a track on eBay and keep an eye on it. And I was trolling through all the stuff a couple of days ago actually, and I hadn't had any hits for this radio, and I was trawling through, and just trawling through radios, just browsing through, in the lockdown, not much else to do, and sure enough came up with this, and it actually had the model number in it, but it hadn't been flagged up by the eBay search thing. So I saw this, and it looked in pretty good condition, came up with the box, and it was sold as she sold it as, actually the listing was junk, battery corrosion, spares or repair, box has got a rip in it. Okay, well that's okay, doesn't work, that's what we like. So this is the radio that turned up, and this is the radio. And this is the radio that brings back memories of being on my bedside cabinet and listening to it in the evening. And my first FM radio, circa 1978, then this model. And I personally think it's quite ahead of its time. It was very Space 1999 when I got it. I remember this sort of like this sort of science fiction font that sort of like was quite popular. It had these nice tuning controls and volume controls that always would look pretty funky to me. Earphone socket on the front. On the top here we've got long wave, medium wave, and FM. Only goes to 104 megahertz on FM, unfortunately, but that's not usually a problem. So obviously long wave, which is now only the thing that's broadcast on long wave, is Radio 4, as we know. On the back there's not a lot to it really. There's the change switch, radio change frequency switch, and obviously got a telescopic aerial on the top for FM reception only, and a tone control here, which is I remember always used to have it in the high tones because it always sounded slightly better. So it's in pretty good cosmetic condition. It's actually in very good cosmetic condition. There's a few sort of like little marks on the aluminium front, but what do you expect for sort of something that's sort of like over 40 years old now? It's in very good condition. It's got original handle, and it's even inside the box got the not the instructions, but basically what everything does. There isn't a lot of instructions to be put on a transistor radio really, but tone control, tuning, sort of obviously marked out, and someone's marked out the 4 batteries it has, which are AA's, but they call them R6s. The schematic on the back, so it's a sort of like, it looks like what was that one? Probably two or 3 stage IF, pretty straightforward. No alignment instructions, no IF settings or anything like that, but it's got a stringing diagram, which is quite useful, so if your string breaks you can always restring it. So that's quite nice. It's got the what they call these things, polyvaricon or whatever they call them. Yeah, polyvaricon tuning capacitor layout thing there. So that's basically probably part, I don't know if that's the complete instructions that it came with. I can't remember, it was so long ago. And obviously got the warranty card. It's probably out of warranty now, I don't know, 40 years, yeah, be out of warranty for 40 years actually. Okay, so the radio, it's as I say, in pretty nice external condition. I can even remember this made in Singapore sticker. I might actually peel that off because it's half coming off anyway. Bit of a mark on the front there. The grill's in pretty good condition. I might be able to clean some of these sort of like marks up. You can see these in the light with a pencil eraser. This is a pencil eraser that I've used before. Be very careful, but just sometimes just rub them out. You could just rub that mark out. Let's have a quick little go now, just see if it makes it any better. Probably difficult for you to see in the right light, but just work that a little bit. You might be able to get some of that mark out. You have to be very careful, as I say. So the first thing to do is I think just power it up, see if it works. Let's have a look at the battery compartment, because that was the thing that they were talking about. Now, when they showed in the pictures, they said it was very corroded, and it isn't very corroded actually. I must admit the descriptions, it's good, because you're not disappointed. That spring connection's got a bit of corrosion on it. The positive side above it's pretty good. This side's fine. So it's obviously one battery sort of like leaked out. It's got the model number label in the bottom there. And funny enough, I just opened this battery compartment up and pulled this battery removing, usually a little I don't know what it was, sort of silk, not silk, but it's a synthetic material for pulling out the batteries. And I just pulled this out, and it's a plasticky sort of, almost like the cheese you get on one of these little roll-up cheeses you get, Baby Bells. It feels like that. It's got that same texture to it. And pulling that out, it just brought me back to the 70s when I remember pulling it out to change the batteries. So it's funny how silly little things like that sort of stir up old memories. So I haven't got any batteries in the workshop at the moment, but I think the first thing I'll do is I'm going to put it on a bench supply, switch it on. Let's see if we get anything out of it, and if we get anything out of it, ascertain if it sounds okay. Maybe open it up, have a look inside, and see if it's worth recapping. And if it actually needs recapping, it might not need recapping. There's a little thing there that bugs me a little bit. I know you can see on the dial because the exposure's, there we go. You see that 0 doesn't quite go back to 0, so I might need to adjust that. I know that's a bit anal, but that sort of thing annoys me a little bit. So let's get it connected up to a external supply, and we'll see if it springs into life. Okay, I've connected up to the little Farnell Tops power supply, which is connected to its 6-volt output. Current limited, I think, about 2 amps, which is a bit high, but it will be fine because it's a linear. It's nice and quiet. So we connected up to the battery compartment. It's got no external socket for running off a wall wart or anything like that. So let's just power this up and see what we get. That's a good sign. It's a good start. At least its items described, because it doesn't work at all. Totally dead. So that's good. We'll just try the wave change switch. There's not even a click from the output stage. No, so it sounds totally dead. Just checking the battery connections, make sure they're good. Which might not be. Oh, there you go. Ah, epoxy thing works. Okay, so we're obviously on FM. Oh, I need to make this battery connection a little bit more secure. Need to get some batteries maybe from inside.
Based on the best-selling novel by Sally Rooney, Normal People. All episodes streaming from Sunday on BBC iPlayer.
Now it's time for the final part of our magical drama series, Curious Under the Stars.
Well, FM works.
Mini mix is. Right, let's keep it going with some more new music. Got Summer back.
Scale calibration doesn't look too bad either, which is impressive. Okay.
I have loved the stars too fondly.
Scale calibration is excellent, actually. That's 93.5. Can't really argue with that. I mean, that's more or less where I'd put it if I was doing a calibration.
Sean, I'm in trouble with me, Dad.
Okay, let's try. I'm going to have to do something about his battery connection, that's for sure. I'm going to get some batteries and then clean that battery connection up. Okay, we need to do something with this battery connection first, really. Try medium wave. This is all noise from the video camera, unfortunately, so let's try and move the... Yeah, got a hell of a lot of noise from various electronic things. I might turn that off as well. My phone charger. And the camera's on charge actually. Let's turn the charger off. There we go. That's better.
I thought it could be one of those compilation albums, couldn't it? Yeah.
So it appears to be working absolutely fine. Let's try long wave. Sorry, 1500.
What?
Absolutely spot on. Scale calibration is perfect. 1500 kilohertz.
Some equity on the house.
So the little radio from sort of like, which is what now 40 years old, works perfectly. Not even noisy pot on it. Amazing little radio. So it's obviously using quite good components. So let's crack it open inside, have a look inside and see what it's got. Okay, once I've got the back off, there's a screw behind the battery compartment. There's a plastic clip underneath the radio where you have to get a sort of flat-bladed screwdriver and give it a bit of a pry. It's a bit, not for the faint-hearted, I must admit, because you don't want the bottom of the plastic case cracking. Inside, pretty nicely laid out really. This sort of style windings are slightly unusual. They're normally more the square types that you see in sort of European radios. Matsushita capacitors, which is nice. So they're going to be good quality. I'm not even really worried about checking those because they're going to be fine. Just checking to make sure it's not getting warm. I thought I felt it was warm. It's not. There's one slightly bogus looking capacitor here that might need to check to have a look at. I don't know what that is. The rest of it's ceramic really, so that shouldn't be any problem at all. As I said, the volume controls are all quiet and things. I might put a little bit of contact lubricant on the tone control switch because that's a bit flaky. Just having a look around. This is two diodes here. I don't know if you can see these two diodes here. So this is obviously the part of the discriminator down here. We've got two diodes. So it's pretty discriminator coil. Little 1 watt speaker, little Foster speaker. I've never heard of those. Pretty a Taiwanese speaker. Not a name I'm familiar with or I've seen before. That's basically it. Pretty straightforward. And the connection going to the aerial on the back here. So it's a straightforward budget radio. But in its day, it was I loved it. You know, it was a lovely little radio. And this one clearly working perfectly well, which suggests that it's using good quality passive components like the chokes and you know, stuff like that. It's not going to fail. Good quality capacitors, good quality components, all in all really. It might need a bit of a cosmetic clean up just to see if we can tidy it up a bit, and then I'm not even going to bother twiddling with the alignment. I think it's clearly the scale calibration is spot on. The sensitivity seems pretty good. I'm going to just leave it on the external supply for a couple of hours and see how it copes. I've got no idea when this was last used, to be honest with you. And this is a capacitor here, obviously, that's in the preamp stage, and you're just going through this capacitor to give a bit of a tone boost. So in high mode, that capacitor will be short-circuited to pass the sound straight through, so hasn't got a capacitor in series. So I mean, it sounds when I was a kid, as I say, it sounded really good. But it sounds pretty good. It sounds reasonable. Certainly never going to be a particularly good quality performing set, as you know, something like a Hack or a Roberts of its day. But nice little radio, and means a lot to me. So let's get the back on it. I think. Well, what I will have to do is have a go at cleaning that battery contact up. So I might have a go at that with a bit of trouble getting in there, so I can see if I can get that battery contact out maybe and clean it up. It's not that bad, and probably just a bit of sandpaper on the top, bit of emery paper on the top will be enough. It'd be nice to get rid of some of that corrosion. Okay, I managed to pull the positive connection out fairly easily. You just unsolder the wire and it just slots out of its carrier, so that's good. So I can get to that now and clean that. So the next stage is to try and get this spring out, which hopefully will follow suit. It looks like it just slides into the back of the radio. So I can bend that little clip round without breaking it. And then give it a wriggle. It's coming up a bit. The trouble is, because it's a spring, because the spring's sort of expanding, it's sort of like wedging itself into the actual fitting. Let's give it a squirt of WD-40. Oh, that's better. Amazing WD-40. Okay. Still tight, but it's nearly there. Should better get hold of the little bugger now. There we go. So that's the spring out. So the next step is to try and clean this up with something. One of the favourite tricks is vinegar, but I want to try and clean this surface up here and maybe actually just tin that. It's got a sort of like a tin surface on it, so hopefully the lead will protect it a bit better. So let's give this a clean up, see what it comes up like, and we can get that back in the radio. That cleaned up quite nicely. I'm quite pleased with that actually. Wire brush, a small wire brush, WD-40, bit of emery paper, cleaned it up. Barely any corrosion at all, a bit in the inside, but certainly the contact's perfectly adequate now. Let's get this back into the radio and maybe just clean this one up as well. Just a little bit verdigris on there, but pretty clean. It's got a nice sort of like sharp edge to it. I don't know if you can see that. Camera's going to focus. It's sort of like a slightly sharp edge, so it's going to dig into the battery nicely. So let's get it back in together and see what we get. Okay, that's the final result. I'm talking a bit of the Water Boys, Whole of the Moon, so we don't get any copyright. It's come out really nicely actually. Sound quality is pretty average, nothing special. Not that I can remember. It always seemed to have almost like a high fidelity sound quality, but it hasn't got that. It's just another transistor radio in all honesty. But it's got a soft spot in my heart, and I love the style of the sort of like the early 1980s design, I suppose. Quite retro in its time. I remember how impressed I was with the way it looked. This sort of plastic grill on the silver bezel, and I actually had a Celestion speaker actually from the similar sort of era that looked exactly the same as that. It was sort of like a craving or rave for sort of like this black plastic polished plastic, and then a silver finial around the speaker. I remember them quite clearly. It's obviously a thing of its day. Works nicely, in good condition. The aerial's straight. Very pleased with this for the money I paid for it, which wasn't a lot. And I hope it was of some interest. Thanks for watching, and stay safe everyone.